This is where I did an overlap over there. Stretch right. I think this one's over where everything
Oh, okay,
is
cool.
overlapped.
Nice, okay. Yeah, see, that's a good way to double check your stuff. So, yeah, I mean, I don't see any overlaps. Okay, so these, when you did the Boolean, did you make them one object?
I
Or do you just have two Okay.
I grouped like all of the corners.
So actually, technically, that still works. I just realized. You don't need to make them one object, because either way, they overlap, and they still... The laser will only see that as one object, even though it's two objects. So technically, this works.
I didn't play with Bool yet, so that's why I didn't do it that way.
That's actually fine, how you did it here.
Uh-huh.
That's actually kind of smart. I may do that in the future. Just saves a couple clicks. But anyways, okay. So... Okay. So again, though, I think you made the same mistake here, where if I take this ring, you can see this ring is gonna be... Okay, actually not bad. Yeah, it will be overlapping on some of them.
Okay.
So for example, on these top ones here, and this one is the worst because it has the overlap here. Now you may measure your device, you may measure this one and be like, oh, it's good. Oh, it's good. Maybe all these perform very similar, and then you see this one performs really bad for some reason.
Yeah.
And this one performs bad, but not as bad, and you wonder why. The reason is because part of it's being covered by gold, and it's not absorbing as much light. And the reason it's bad is because if you reduce your illumination area, you're reducing the photo current, right? The current that's generated from absorbing photons. But you're not changing the dark current. You have a natural, just current that's flowing through it, that's your noise. So your noise remains the same, but your photocurrent decreases. So now you have a higher noise to signal ratio, or a lower signal to noise ratio, which means your device won't perform as well. So how thick was your ring? Do you know how thick this was? I can measure it really quick, but...
I like 250, or close to that.
Okay.
300 maybe.
Let's see.
There's a measure tool there too. You could just draw lines.
Oh, okay. Wait, where's the select button though?
It's right here.
Yeah, you have a bunch of extras. Okay, it is 225 micrometers. Okay. So yeah, I wouldn't make it any smaller. Your ring is good. What you can do is simply make it wider.
Yeah, like expand it towards
expand it closer to the edge.
Yeah.
Could be okay. That's probably easier than changing your design. However, it looks like on this one you're gonna have a big problem.
And that one I could probably just delete the outer ring.
Yeah, that you could. Yeah, because you see here. Yeah, I mean, you're entirely blocking these pixels.
Yeah.
So yeah, I would just delete the outer ring and just have these ones in the middle. Would be fine. Okay. So, but as far as that overall though, the design is good. And then for the Boolean,
oh, that's just the overlapped one. So the next one after that is a Boolean.
Oh, okay. Yeah, got you. Okay. Yeah, so again, you need to do what we said. However, because these are really close to the edge, either you're going to want to bring them in closer, which is kind of annoying because that means you're going to have to adjust all of your
I could just do one and then copy it over because they're all like symmetric.
Yeah,
5,000
exactly.
over.
I would go ahead and do that. Another way to do it, but I honestly don't like mine being so close to the edge,
Okay.
especially because sometimes your samples, you end up not cutting perfectly one by one. Sometimes it can be a little smaller.
Yeah.
It shouldn't be a big deal. It is okay if you have it on the edge. And if you want to keep them there, then what you should do is when you do this Boolean subtraction, so we already discussed that for this one, we're going to need this extra square,
Yeah.
right? What you can do is... so now these alignment markers are being hidden by this bar.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to subtract those out of that bar.
Mm-hmm.
And so you would have to take this bar again, put it as object A, and then highlight all of these things. I'm just gonna do it as an example here. Oh wait.
I think it's because like they're all. I grouped those
Oh.
together, and then I grouped all of them in one square together.
Okay.
I could ungroup them too.
That actually makes this easier. Oh wait. What did I do? Oh, where's the undo button? Oh, there it is. Wait, so what are these grouped to?
So, at first I grouped like each one, like the two,
Right.
and then I grouped. After I made them individually, I grouped those two, the pairs together, and then I grouped like each one
To each other.
To each other. So like it just.
But are
moved
they
all
also
together.
grouped to the outer ring or no?
No, it's
They're just grouped to
themselves.
each other?
Yeah.
So why did this get lost? Because this ring is now object A. And then I should be clicking on this polygon, right? Like this, now I should just have those selected.
Sometimes what I do is this, and then now I could select it. So now you see.
Referring to that one specifically, I meant the pad at I'm sorry, yeah. That's like the minimum dimension of a gold pad needs to be. So for example, on the smallest one, even though this may only be, this smallest area may only be 100 micrometers by 100 micrometers, this gold pad needs to be at least 150 by 150.
Okay.
But yeah, when they get bigger, you just need to make them big enough to cover the full thing here, right? But yeah, it doesn't need to be much bigger.
And also, is this overlap important? How much should this be, or no? It's
Just as much as you need it to be for there to be a 1 micrometer or 1 millimeter in here. But it needs to be enough for there to be a good contact. So I would say maybe 50 to 100 micrometers, at least. Let me see, I think on this one, I don't know how much I was making it. Yeah, it's honestly up to you, like what fits. But whatever it is on this side, I would make it the same on this side. Like make
Oh,
them
I see.
even, you know what I mean?
Wow, but here.
I know, I didn't draw it to
okay.
scale, yeah. But you want it to be even, that way you know each contact has the same conductivity. But yeah, so say if it's 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter, maybe make it 1.5 millimeters by 1 millimeter, and then you'll have 0.25 of contact overlap on one side and 0.25 of contact overlap on the other side. Something along those lines should work. And then as you get smaller and smaller, you can adjust it a little bit, but it should follow that basic principle.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. And yeah, I think that's about it. I made a second ring here and subtracted all of this out so that now these objects all exist. So we did it right. Okay. Yeah, okay. So that means my thought process was right. If you want the chromium to be gone, then you need there to be an object there. So that's, if you have an object, that is telling the laser to remove the chromium from the mask. So as long as you know that, you should be able to figure out whether or not you should subtract something, or if you should make sure that the object exists there, in which case you need to subtract anything that may overshadow it. Okay? Yeah. So that's really it.
I have a question about this.
Yeah.
One. You said that this dimension should be 1 millimeter by 1 millimeter,
Yeah.
and here is 150 micrometer. So how could this be?
What was I referring to there? You're right. So in this one, we will have these pixels. Mine are a lot smaller though, but we have these pixels. So we did the same thing that you did, right? You made the ring. Alignment markers look like. So you can see my alignment marker is 10 micrometers wide, because each dot here is 5 micrometers. So this is 10 micrometers wide, 10 micrometers tall here. And then the height of my thing is 50 micrometers. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, 300 micrometers, okay. Yeah, so I made it 300 micrometers tall, but only 10 micrometers wide. You may not need to make it that big, like tall-wise, you can make it shorter if you want, but 10 micrometers is how like thick it should be. All right, let me see if I can find the width Boolean. Is this width Boolean? Nope. Where is it? Photography. Device here. If this pixel, say, was one of the ones you had like on the edges here, then if we have like this backside contact here that's gold, now how is the device gonna absorb any light, right? Because now there's gold covering it. So all of the pixels, like in our pattern, if this is the top view, all of our pixels like this, so this is just a representation of one pixel, right? Now if you were to look at the back side of it, the contact ring will be something like this, right? This ring needs to go on the outer edge of these. And where I'm saying is that you may have an issue now is because you made your pixels like really close to the edge here. There's no room for the this backside contact. Inevitably, your backside contact on the backside is going to be crossing over some of your outer pixels, making those pixels useless. So you can just leave it. However, you'll have to know that it's not a perfect design because some of these pixels are going to become useless as a device. However, you still have a large number in the middle that are all usable, and that's okay. And it's not necessarily a bad thing, because one reason you actually would want to do what you did is that not every time are you actually just making a device. Sometimes you just want to characterize those pixels without even shining light on it. Just probe it. And in that case, it's fine because you're not shining light on it. But if you want to shine light on it and measure like it as a camera, those ones now become useless. So either you're going to need to rearrange your pixels and make it fit within the square, or just leave it how it is, but a large number of your pixels may be useless.
How close can these pixels be?
They can be pretty close. I would say no closer than 150 micrometers.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I think the distance is 500 micrometers, so I can make them closer.
Yeah, you can make them closer. I would probably aim for like 200 micrometers at the closest.
200?
Yeah.
Okay.
You can do a 200 micrometer spacing. It should be fine. So let me actually pull up. I need to find mine. I've made so many designs.
Okay, so okay, so this is close. You did pretty good. Let me see. I'll just draw it on here. So with your mask, it's actually a little different than this. So if you look on yours, you actually are making a ring that you're gonna etch out rather than etching away all of the PBSE and just leaving a square. So from your flow chart, it would look like you just have one square here rather than two. Do you kind of get what I mean?
Yeah.
So the way that I would prefer it to look like is if this is the substrate and this is the PBSE. What the photoresist, what this first pattern would look like is you have photoresist covering like this instead of just this one spot, right? And so just this would be etched away, and then what you would be left with would be, so you would still have PBSE out here, but this would be like an isolated pixel or island, right? So that's really the only difference that you missed. And then also, so you stopped after the gold, but you also have a third design that is for the insulation, right? So there would be another one. So you have, we'll just take it from your design here now. So you have the PBSE and you have your gold on top now, which is good. So now with your third design, you're gonna have photoresist everywhere here. Oh wait, sorry. Oops, I drew it wrong. So you have your PBSE, you have your gold, and you're gonna have photoresist covering here. And that way, when you deposit the insulation, it'll cover everywhere,
Yeah.
right? And then get lifted off. And then what you'll be left with is your PBSE, your gold, and you'll be left with this like protection, protecting it everywhere else where this is all insulation. And so now the only real exposed thing is the gold for you to make a contact with, right? And then you would have like maybe a back contact here. Yeah. So so you're just missing the insulation part, and then having some extra photoresist out here where it would actually look like this rather than like this. But it's not bad. Yeah. Okay, so this is fine. But if we pull up your Boolean, I think that's where it started.
I think this.
Okay, yeah, the width Boolean. Oh, dang it, I forget. I have to just open it. Bloop, bloop, bloop. Okay, So here, yeah. So right now, you can see because I highlighted this, everything is going to be shadowed by this outer square. So you need to subtract things relative to this outer square. Also this, yeah, see, you have an extra shape. You still have the square in the middle. So that's another trick is anytime you highlight a bunch of stuff, you can look down here and it'll tell you how many shapes there are, right? So if I highlight this, you can see there should only be one shape. It should be one polygon, but you have a square here.
Yeah, I see that, but I didn't understand what I have done wrong.
See, now I delete it. And now it's just the polygon. So there's a square in here. I think it's the outer square didn't get deleted because it isn't changing when I highlight this.
I just take only this one, not this one.
Yeah, that's why. So you can see if I click the bar here, it shows that we're just looking at one polygon. If I click the middle here, now it shows I'm on a square, right? So you still have a square here. So you can just click there and know that you're highlighting the square and just delete it. And now this is just one polygon. And I did it here as well. But you would have to do that for all of them. However, we still need to think, and I actually need to think, it doesn't just come to me, how to make this work for this process flow. So if we want photoresist to be removed from here, from the ring, then, or if we want PBSE to be removed there, then it needs to not have photoresist on it, right?
Yeah.
And for positive resist, if you don't want photoresist there, you need to expose it, right? So if you need to expose it, then that means the mask shouldn't have any chromium there. It should be see-through. So if there shouldn't be chromium and it's see-through, then it means that the laser, when it creates the mask, should etch the chromium there. And for it to etch it there, it should be an object. So you have it right the way you did it, that you made this ring. However, now this giant thing is an object as well, this whole outer square, and that is overshadowing everything here. So what I believe you would need to do, and I'm gonna double check with my pattern because I could be wrong here, but an easy way to fix it is to simply it's so zoomed in. Draw another outer ring. Oh, everything's, what layer is this stuff on? Let me see. Layer 1. Move to layer. Okay, now everything's on layer 1. So now you just do the same thing that you did with those, and we're just gonna make this and this and do A minus B. And now you just subtracted out this whole, you see how it's not highlighted anymore like this is? Now this is all empty space, right? And now the only objects that exist are this outer edge that defines your pattern and the pattern elements themselves. So now these objects aren't being hidden anymore. There's nothing on top of them, right? So that's what you need to do if you want objects to be there. Now, if you wanted, say this one, you wanted to be the opposite of that, which it should be because it's negative. Now what you can simply do, this one's really easy, is subtract everything from that outer square. Like that. And now you literally just have this giant square with a bunch of missing pieces. Right? All those holes in it. You see that?
Yes.
So that's the process. That's how you properly do the Boolean. Either you want objects to be that exist there, in which case you need to make a second ring and then subtract it from the big ring so that you make all of this empty, and then all of your objects won't be hidden anymore. Or you just keep that one outer square that you have and subtract everything else from it. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So that's the way the Boolean should be done. Yeah. So that's basically it. However, I'm not even confident that I did this correctly. It's possible that this should be inversed. Because the way that I thought of it. And the good thing is, though, if you do get this backwards, if you realize this one should have been like this, and this one should have been like this, in terms of should I have made a second square and subtracted it like I did with this one, or should I just have subtracted it from the outer square? If you realize by the time that you like put it in the machine that it's flipped, then you can just tell the machine to flip it the other way, right? So instead of telling it, oh, if there's an object, you should remove the chromium, you can tell it if there's an object, that's where you don't want it to remove the chromium. So it's okay, technically. You just have to be consistent. If this was positive resist and you did it this way, then your negative resist one should be the opposite, right? And so I think for our design that I had you made, this first column is positive resist, and these two columns are both negative resist. Yeah, but again, it's gonna take some thinking, because on this one, like, you have this giant square here.
Yeah, again, I think this is because of I didn't.
Yeah, you didn't have this
Yeah.
one clicked, you just had this one.
Yes.
Yeah, and that's fine. So I do want y'all to, I do want you to redo your Boolean and do it this way, and also just make the new alignment markers. But I think for the most part, honestly, you did really good. Your initial pattern is correct, and the Boolean is a lot more complicated. I understand that. It took me a bit to figure this out, and even now, like I said, I don't even remember half the time which way to do it. I have to look at my old designs and see, because it is a lot to think about. You're like, okay, I want the PBSC to be removed. That means there shouldn't be photoresist. If there shouldn't be photoresist, and I'm doing positive resist, that means the mask should have no chromium. If the mask has no chromium, that means I need to tell the design that there's an object there. Like, it's a lot to think about. I understand that. So it's okay if you get it flipped. But what is getting it flipped, I don't care about. But at least making sure that the entire thing is done like this is all one object, or that this has no object and all of these are objects within it, that should be done correctly.
Yeah, completely about this Boolean. I didn't get this completely.
Yeah, I understand that. It is it's more complicated than just drawing the design. But you did the design, like your before Boolean was correct, and that's why, again, I told you all to save one with before and after, because most likely you were gonna mess up on the Boolean, and you can just redo it from the other one. So that's okay. So yeah, so I'm gonna just exit that. So you're gonna have to really think for your Boolean. So the first thing you have to know is if you do your Boolean right, this whole thing will be one object, right? So this is gonna be a positive resist. So this is where, so I see, I'm guessing y'all didn't do the flow, the cross-sectional flow. Did you do that or no?
Yes. Just like.
It's not really gonna help for the fine alignment. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So for example, like, you know, these squares were only like 5 micrometers spacing between the border of this, right? So these alignment markers are supposed to help you make sure that this aligns perfectly inside here within 5 micrometers. So if this is 100 micrometers wide, it's not going to give you very much accuracy, because you may think that this plus sign is like overlapped with this one perfectly, but it can be off by almost 10 micrometers or more, and you probably couldn't tell because it's so big, right? So it helps to make these smaller, and by making them smaller, you should also have room to not overlap with that one. So I would just go ahead and make those smaller. Literally, the easiest way to do it is to just draw a rectangle and make it, say, I don't know, 40, okay, we're gonna make it 10 micrometers wide and say like 40 micrometers tall. And then what you can do is now just draw another one intersecting it. And make it this time 10 micrometers tall and 40 micrometers wide. Or, sorry. Oh, whoops. Dang it. I made it mimic it. 40 micrometers wide and 10 micrometers tall. Something like this, you know? And then what you can do is you take one and you look at its center point. So 3400 and 900. And then you just take this one and make them have the same center.
So it's important? I thought that.
Like that, you see?
Okay.
And then you can just do the Boolean, add them together. So it should be Control 9, Control 0, and you can see it set 1 and 2 there. And then you want A plus B with, and I just click these, always deletes them after operation, and then do A plus B, and boom, now you have a perfect plus sign. So something like that, and you see how much smaller that is, right? And then you just put those there. And those would be good alignment markers. And you can make it bigger than this, but the width of them should only be like 10, maybe 20 micrometers is okay. You can make them a lot longer and taller, but yeah, you want to make them not very wide. But again, I didn't totally specify those, and you did good with your placement of them, and I can see that they're all mirrored, so that was good. So I would just adjust that. So yeah, what I'm gonna do, so I think this was not actually the one that, I'm just gonna say no. So which one should it be? Without Boolean? Without?
Come down. Without a bit.
This one? Okay. Okay, yeah, here we go. Okay, so all I'm gonna do, because I think, for the most part, yours look good. So I already checked this top one. So I'm going to check, let's actually see. Okay, I'm gonna check that all of these line up. Yeah, that's good. 190, 200, 220, okay? Yeah, that looks good. And then last one. Okay. Yeah, so your design before Boolean is perfect. This is exactly what you want. So that's good. And the only thing it's missing would be the alignment markers. And I would go ahead and just add those here before you do the Boolean. But anyways, this is good though. So I'm just gonna X out. Actually, let me save this as separate. Without Boolean. So, yeah, I would make it so that it's not overlapping. So how big are these? Okay. So, these I would make much smaller, like only 10 micrometers by 10 you know what 10 micrometers wide. Because if it's the main one, right? Oops, this is touchscreen. So we can go ahead and delete this column. So we'll just focus on these three. Also, is that the origin?
Yeah.
Okay. Oh, I still didn't center it. Oh. Doesn't really matter. Okay. Let's try saving it as a GDS.
Yes. Yeah. Okay.
Okay. Boolean subtraction out of it. So now you can see this whole square is one object that's outlined, and everything that's inside was removed. So that's why there's these holes here. And actually, now that I think about it on yours, I think the reason you don't just see the border, you still have gray area in the middle, means that you didn't delete after you did the Boolean subtraction.
I did.
Okay, well here, yeah, we'll check it then. Do you have it on your flash drive?
Yes.
Okay. So you saved